Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Footy podcast, ahead of the draft. It's great to be down here in beautiful Dunsborough and with Jed Walter. Jed, how you going?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for having me.
Oh, mate, thanks for inviting me because I'm excited to be down here in Dunsborough, obviously. You messaged me. We were trying to get that Gold Coast episode sorted, and then that just didn't work.
Yeah, I know. Couldn't figure anything out. I'm in a bit of shambles, but
yeah,
good to get it done now.
And it is. No, I'm excited. Obviously, no goals, so I don't think we can record a game of pig. Probably best for you because you would have slipped a few spots in the draft if
Probably
we had have done that. But yeah, so why? Because you got family here in Dunsborough. How often do you get down? Because you were born and raised in Dunsborough.
Yeah, so originally from WA. Lived in South Perth all my life, up near the city.
Oh yeah.
Then moved over to Goldie when I was about 8, and then started playing footy when I was 9 there. And Nan and Pop always lived down here, uncles and aunties, so we were always down here, and we were tossing up whether to move from Perth to here or to the Goldie, but we chose the Goldie, but always come back and see the family here, so here quite a bit.
Good choices to pick from, Goldie and Dunsborough. Like, you could have gone pretty worse with them. Why'd you go Goldie?
Mum, we always went over there for holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
Mum loved it. I mean, it's a good lifestyle. Same here as well, but
Yeah.
we actually would have, if we moved to Dunsborough here, we would have lived like just on the beach, so it would have been
that would've
nice.
been unreal.
We're pretty close to the beach on the Goldie anyway,
Yeah.
and we got a bit of land, so
Yeah. Obviously, you'd probably have a bit of bias, but what would you say is better, Goldie or Dunsborough?
Dunsborough's nice, but Goldie's more of the city. I mean, Dunsborough's nice to come for a holiday, but I think I'm gonna take the Goldie.
That's fair. Now, you move across country, obviously, at a very young age. How do you handle that? Because it's a big move. I did it at 22 and I was a bit rattled. Like, you're doing it at 9 years old. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of lucky that I was a bit younger. So, I mean, I had obviously mates and stuff, but it wasn't like you hadn't got to that stage where you'd like grown up with them, started playing footy with them and that. So it wasn't as hard. It was pretty easy, and we always went for holidays and stuff. So like we all loved it. We were all ready for the move, so it was pretty easy to get there and then mix in, get a group of mates, and then join footy there. So I was pretty young, so it wasn't that hard.
Yeah. Now, like, throughout your childhood, obviously in the nicest possible way, you are built like a brick shit house. Like, at what stage was it that you really like filled out and became like, a man?
Probably like 15, 16. I mean, I was always really tall, but I was arms and legs everywhere. I was so skinny, so I was like a baby giraffe running around. But yeah, done the weights programs and stuff now, and I've kind of filled out naturally. I mean, naturally big in the legs, but I've had to work a bit for my upper body. But yeah, getting there.
Has that like? Have you ever had, when you played like junior sports, like parents kicking up a fuss, wondering what you're doing in like their kids' age groups?
When I used to win like running races and stuff, they always just be like, check his birth certificate.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then footy as well, because I was always like a head foot taller than everyone, but I always knew people were going to catch up, and Ethan Reid's definitely a big example of that.
It's very few that have caught up, but Reid is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned like running races. You obviously freakishly big and strong and tall, and a very good runner. Like, how long have you been running for? Have you done any competitive running? And do you ever get like injuries throughout that? Because you see that a lot with big blokes who do a lot of running, especially, not to say fat, but with the weight on them when they're running at fast paces, have to deal with a lot of injuries. Have you had much of that?
Yeah, well, when I was younger, like I said, I was really skinny, so it was a good runner. It was a bit easier to move around when I was like 50 kilos less. So always been a good runner when I was a little boy. Did cross country, athletics, like at state and national level as well. So it was good then, but now as I get older, you get a bit bigger. But obviously, I'm more like into my footy now. I didn't really enjoy running. It's a bit of a lonely sport. So
yeah, it definitely is.
With footy, I mean, you do like your preparation stuff. So I mean, it's the same. I mean, no matter what sport you do, you're probably going to get injuries along the way. So as long as you're prepping well and doing everything well to stay injury free, I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter what size you are, kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you were one of many that were injured in the combine. Whether or not you were, I don't know. There are a few fake moon boots flying around there.
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah. How do you think you would have tested? Because, as a full forward, a big forward, we probably don't see it top speed often or for long stretches. How do you reckon you would have tested throughout, 20 metre, 2K, all that?
Yeah, well, I was feeling pretty fit. I mean, I would have done it if the combine was probably a week or two later. So, I mean, the knee, there was no point pushing it for anything. So, well, it wasn't faking an injury there.
I believe
got
you.
my medical certificate.
Yeah, did you? I reckon a few boys got the fake medical certificates.
Yeah, I think so. And if they couldn't, they just put themselves in a moon boot. But, yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see, I would have tested well. I mean, I was feeling pretty fit. I mean, yeah, I'm usually a good tester, so it would have been, yeah, I would no idea what I would have gone, but hopefully it would have gone good.
Hey, do you have good endurance?
Yeah, I actually do have pretty good endurance for my size.
Because Reedy's got unreal endurance.
I'm not that level of endurance.
I was about to say, like, could you take on Reedy in an endurance? Could you take on like Rog in a 20 meters?
Yeah, I reckon I got Jakey covered in a 20. He's pretty quick, but if I have a good start, I'll get him. But if I have a bad start, I can't get him.
Yeah.
But and then Big Creek, we call him. I mean, he's an elite runner. But if we're doing like repeat 1Ks or 800s or 600s, he'll get me. No, he's got it covered. But if it's like, I don't know, repeat 200s or 100s, I'm more better in that, definitely, for sure.
Distance. Yeah. Now, obviously, those are the Gold Coast Academy boys, Ethan Reid, Jake Rogers, and there's Will Graham this year as well.
Yeah.
So 4 boys this year who are all looking to be, big names in this draft. When did your time at the Gold Coast Academy start? Was it immediately as you moved over, or was it a few years later?
So when I moved over, I was only 9. I only started playing footy when I was 9 there. Yeah. So played my footy there just at Palmy, which is like a local footy club there, and then joined the Suns Academy when I was about 12, and then it just kind of got from there. It started out like school holiday programs, so nothing too serious. And then as obviously you get older, it turns more into like playing games against other academies. And then obviously 18th year, you get to play against like NAB League teams or whatever it's called now. So yeah, so that's kind of how it started. Probably just 12, just kicking around the footy on the school holidays. And then it gets a bit more serious, more like a weekly program with gym sessions and training sessions during the week.
Yeah. Now, were you always like a good because obviously you're a good footballer, but a lot of why you're so good is your size and your athleticism. Were you always like very good, or was there a stage where you sort of got big and filled out where maybe they paid a bit more attention to you and showed you a bit more love because they were really excited about the prospect you could become?
When I started, I was horrible. I mean, I remember I rocked up to the under-9 session. I didn't really know anything. I obviously love footy and stuff, but I didn't know anything like that serious into it. I remember I rocked up to my first under-9s training session with like metal studs, and I think I scraped one of the boys' legs, so had to get rid of them after the first session. But I was pretty bad back then. They used to put me in the back pocket, keep me the furthest away from the footy. Actually, I couldn't kick the ball then. Still can't do it now.
Yeah.
But other than that, kind of probably 12 to 13 is when it kind of started to get a bit better.
Yeah. Were there any boys who like especially those other 3 boys I mentioned, Will, Roger, and Craig, were they always in the academy the same time you were? Did they come in later, or?
No, we were all started at that age.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what you do when you're that age. I mean, you just get put in it, really. All your mates do it, so it's just like a school holiday program at the start. Yeah.
Did anyone stand out, like any of you 4 boys stand out in the early days, or was there anyone that stood out in the early days that sort of maybe fallen off a cliff or dropped off a bit now?
I mean, there's a couple just like local club footy boys that you think are going to be guns. I mean, like I said, boys that were big at their age, like obviously I was one of them, and obviously you cop that criticism that you're only big and people are going to catch up, but obviously kept going with it, which is good. But there has been a couple that has fallen off the cliff. But I think us 4 boys have, from the start, I mean, Ethan Big Creek's been the big surprise package, actually. I mean, he was good at the start, and then he slowed down in the height for a little bit, was playing in the 2s only like about 2 years ago, but now he's shut off again, and look what he's doing. So
it's a real super crop this year. It's a bit, I'm sure you, the Gold Coast fans, the Gold Coast club would be pretty happy. As, just an enjoyer of the draft, I think it's a bit bullshit that, we've got 4 unreal products, the maybe second or maybe even potentially best player in this draft, the way you're rated, but that are all aligned to Gold Coast. When you talk to clubs about that, like how many clubs do you actually speak to? Because open drafts, obviously every club's going to want you, but when you speak to other clubs, is there much of that, and what do they say to you?
When we speak to other clubs, I mean, at the Combine, we obviously had interviews with other clubs, but obviously, well, hopefully, because I'm going to go pretty early in the draft, that I spoke to like those clubs that have those kind of picks. Yeah. So I obviously didn't speak to that many clubs this year compared to obviously the boys that aren't tied to an academy or anything like that. So, I remember Clarko was in one of my interviews, and he was blowing up about the Suns rules, which was pretty funny. Yeah. We had a good laugh about it, and then same with the other clubs. But I mean, it is what it is. They can't really do anything about it. I know a lot of the Melbourne clubs and the media make a big deal about it, so it's interesting to see if it changes or not, because there's talk of the bidding rules changing and they're unfair or whatever, but I kind of just stay away from all that.
That's fair enough. No need to read into the politics. When you go in, do you wonder, what am I doing here? Because, like, you know you're not going to end up at that club right now? Like, does it feel a bit weird? Like, because the other boys, they're thinking, I could end up at this club. This could be my club. They want to know more about me. When you're going in and you know you're going to the Suns, does it feel a bit weird?
I mean, it does, but obviously you never know where you're going. I mean, crazier things have happened. So, I mean, you just go in, you just speak to them, form good relationships with them and, like, have a good chat with them. I mean, you never know where you're going till your name's called out. So it's not all sealed until draft night, but there's more likely of a chance that I'm going to end up at the Suns,
Yeah, now, obviously we mentioned live in the Gold Coast. You've done some, growing up in Dunsborough, and you spend your off-season in Canada as well. Were you over there for Christmas?
Yeah, so we left the day after the draft last year.
Yeah.
So in Sydney, then flew to Hawaii. In America, I mean, if I tell you about the whole trip, we'll be here for the rest of the Arvo. But, yeah, travelled all around America, and then we were in Canada for Christmas in Banff, which was unreal. So it was such a cool holiday. I mean, that's the first time I've really seen the snow as well. So it was pretty cool.
Would have been weird going to, like, Christmas in the snow, like a cold Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, it was like -30 in Banff, so it was freaking cold. Yeah.
God. How'd you do your pre-season then?
So I could only probably do like 45% of it. I mean, I was just kind of had to deal with what I had. I mean, if there were gyms at the hotels, that was great. And if there wasn't, I couldn't really do anything. I mean, wasn't going for a run in the -30-degree snow. So
that's pretty valid. I wouldn't do it in 20 degrees. nice beautiful day. Now National Academy, you got a whack of experience with that. How was your time there? How did they help you develop? Because you've obviously had so many different things that have helped you develop. State programs, national programs, Gold Coast programs. So specifically within the National Academy, is there anything you really took away or learned from that?
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to be in it as a bottom major with a couple of the boys, which is pretty cool. I mean, we didn't really get as much exposure, but because we didn't get invited back to the second camp because it was just for the playing group, so for the top ages. So, I mean, it was good to be like recognised for that, and then be alongside like all the Ashcrofts and the Sheezers and look what they're doing now. So that was pretty cool. I mean, and then you kind of got to know the players that are in your draft. I think it's just more about you made good friendships. I think I didn't really, like, obviously you played against the Nick Watsons or the Harley Reids of the world, but, like, you kind of became mates with them, which is good, like, before all this happens, I mean. So it's pretty cool. And then, obviously, we got Tarks, the coach there. He was really good in the coaching staff. Everything was really good setup and a really good environment.
And those games you mentioned, obviously, everyone's coming from, different places. There's not really a game plan. There is, but there isn't. So it's like, what is that like? Playing those games that you did play this year, do you feel like, it's a bunch of the boys getting in each other's way, or?
I mean, there's a little bit of it. You might fly against another tall forward, for example, me and, I don't know, another tall forward that was playing. Whereas, I mean, you just kind of have to adapt. I mean, everyone's always going to want to play how they play. And, I mean, it was pretty hard. Like, game time, you don't know. Like, there was so many players and stuff. But it was really good. We got to play against some AFL listed players and good exposure and experience playing on bigger bodies and stuff and seeing what it's like at that next level. And obviously that's only reserves. And if you want to play AFL footy, I mean, that's a whole nother level on top of that.
Who was someone, there's probably a couple obvious answers, but who was someone that you maybe didn't really know much about before the academy that really impressed you when you got there, be it on field or off field?
Sure, actually. I mean, Colby McKercher, did some stuff with him in the Allies last year as a bottom major, and then again this year. So I think I got a bit closer with him, and I mean, he's a really great kid, and he's a ripper bloke, and obviously you'd probably know that. But he's also a good footballer, and his preparation and stuff as well is really good. So he's probably the main surprise. Yeah,
is that jumper like probably the coolest one you've ever worn? Because I feel like you would have worn a few good ones, but that's probably the nicest jumper going around in footy, I reckon.
Yeah, the Australian one. Yeah. I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean,
it looks nice.
Got it framed up now.
Yeah, if you always do that, I don't blame you.
Yeah, that's the only one I've got framed up too. So, it is a nice jumper. I mean, it's a special achievement. And a couple of years, hopefully we'll look back on it and be like, well.
Yeah, I'd do anything to get my hand on one of those jumpers. Do you have like the front framed or the back with your number on it?
The front. Yeah, I know Jakey got his done, and he because he obviously got the best and grand medal. He's got like his little medal in a little slot. So
that's good.
Yeah, and then a photo of himself because he can look at that because he loves himself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, obviously, you also got to play state champs twice as a bottom ager and a top ager. So dual All-Australian, first and foremost. So you've obviously done well in both of them. Pretty easy going for you in those state games. But was there a different approach this year, not to say there wasn't a professional approach in your first year, but was it a bit more professional this time round?
Yeah, obviously it's your draft year and you put a lot of pressure on yourself to perform in those type of games. I mean, there's big expectation playing as a bottom, being a bottom major last year and then making All-Australian to kind of back that up. I mean, you wouldn't, I don't know. You don't want to look like you dropped off. I mean, go All-Australian as a bottom major and then not be able to compete as a top major. But obviously, you're a bit more well-known and you're a bigger body and stuff like that. So other teams might put a bit more time and effort into you. But I mean, really enjoyed the champs. I mean, unreal to win it as well for the first time for the Allies. So, no, it's pretty cool and, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, now, as you mentioned, Allies won. It's a bit rogue when you think about it because the Allies often never really compete. Even when they've got, good players all around, it's the fact that all the boys are coming from different places. You don't really know each other, all those circumstances. What do you think the difference was this year? Obviously, having played in two, what do you think the big difference was this year?
Well, definitely the coaching. I mean, Mark McVeigh, who was their coach, Spike, obviously he's coached at the top level and he's played at the top level, so he knows what it's like. So it was pretty hard on us, but really good. Like, he had a good balance on and off the field, and I think he got all the boys together nice and close from day dot. So I think, we just formed a connection really early, which really set us up for the champs, whereas probably when I played as a bottom major, it was more like you're in your little groups, like your state academies, like your states and stuff. So I think we were more gel and connected, and obviously a couple of us had played in the National Academy team together as well on top of that. So there was about 10 or 11 of us. So definitely made it easy to play with each other because we kind of knew how each other play and how we think, Yeah,
do you feel like, because obviously I'm not a very big person, so I've never had, those sort of little partnerships, like the key forward partnership. Do you feel like you and Charlie McCormack have a little special relationship now, just being the big target man forward in an Allies victory?
Yeah, I mean, he was really good. I mean, every time he touched the ball, I think in the champs he kicked a
He
goal.
had like 4 or 5 touches that weren't a goal.
So, I mean, it was good. Like, if I get caught out or if I drag someone with me, he might have that mismatch. So, I think we worked really well together. And then, obviously, we had some good smalls around us at our feet if the ball went to ground.
Yeah, and as far as, all the players in that squad, who was the one that, really impressed you? Obviously, Riley Sanders was MVP, so he'd be a good answer. There's, the boys from Gold Coast. There was so many people to choose from. Who was the one that you were really impressed with, I guess, just their ability?
I'm probably going to say Connor O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
He's a freak. I mean, I think there was a time when they put him in the forward line as well, so I think he can do it at both ends. I think he plays a bit of forward, actually. Back at the Bushies in the NAB League.
I think he stopped early in the season to go down back.
Yeah, right. So there you go. I mean, his intercept marking was unreal, and he was definitely a big key. He won the Allies MVP like within the things, which was good. So he was definitely a key part of that team.
Yeah, and the celebrations after, I think you boys were given, a couple hours together as a team, or maybe a bit more, but everyone went back to their own states or cities. What was the post-match like?
It was a bit weird. I mean, obviously, got the medals and stuff, in the change rooms with all the family, which was good, and all the coaching stuff. And it was from then just get on the bus and go back.
Yeah.
But us Suns boys went back to mine and enjoyed it a little bit longer. I think Creek enjoyed it a little bit too much, but
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Connor O'Sullivan there as well. What was it like to come up against him in training? Because he's, as far as, not to discount Dan Kurt, but as far as genuine key defenders, not saying DC isn't, but he's a bit more of a flexible player, probably the best in this draft, Sal. So what was it like to come up against him in training as well?
I can't really remember if I did a bit of stuff on him, but obviously they showed how he was in games, but he's more of that intercept defender, come off. I mean, that Darcy Moore kind of type player, not really that lockdown defender. So, I mean, if he's not going to wait for you to go, he'll just go himself. I mean, he'll back his instinct. So, did a little bit of stuff during training and stuff, but not too much because obviously we were only flying in, flying out. So, it's pretty hard to train together, like I said, whereas the Vic Metros, the Vic countries, the WAs, and all the other states got to train together during the week, whereas we didn't. So, Yeah, and
as far as the key defenders you did play on throughout the tournament, who was probably the toughest one you faced?
It's going to be between Ollie Murphy and Dan Curtin. Both obviously unreal players. Not too sure actually. They I think both games I had my wins and they had their wins. So probably say it's an even battle and hopefully we line up on each other again in the future sometime.
Yeah. Now you would have played a plethora of grounds in Australia. Where would you say is your favourite?
I'm probably going to say Marvel. Yeah. I liked Marvel. I mean, I played at the G on Grand Final Day, which is pretty cool, but it's kind of weird, I mean, to gauge with like the, what's it called? Like the stadium, like the rows and stuff, like when you're having a shot on goal.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was kind of hard to gauge. I mean, I dropped like so many marks when I played at the G, and I was like, I'm off this ground. Never want to come back here again. So, and then I had a shot on goal, and I thought it was going through, and then just went to the left, and I was like, nah.
Were you celebrating, like thinking it was going through?
I was about to celebrate, and then nah, so missed it. So
yeah,
I'm gonna say Marvel. I mean, it's pretty cool playing. The roof was closed as well, which was pretty cool.
Now, I don't know if you just said the answer, but least favourite ground you've played on? I don't know if it's maybe just bad juju or if there's one that just had terrible, like, facilities.
This year?
Terrible ground. Or just, I guess, in your time playing, like, Talent League, state footy.
What's a bad ground?
Is there any stinkers in the Talent League?
We always play at Craigieburn.
Craigieburn. Oh, is that like a Cowders?
Craigieburn, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's Calder Cannon's home. I mean, it's always windy and...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably say that. But we only played them when we played against Melbourne teams this year. I think that's the only places we played. Oh, no, we played Icon Park against UWV, but that's a nice deck.
That is a nice
And both times I've played there, I've had an all right game. So, like that deck there.
Is that your gauge? Just like how many goals you've kicked is how good the ground is?
Not really. I mean... Yeah, not really. It's just how I feel. And like if it's windy, I mean, Icon Park's more like of a stadium, so there's not as much wind and stuff in there. It's like Craigieburn, it's pretty open, like there's wind blowing every direction, Melbourne weather.
That one in Adelaide for Gather Round, that one was a bit...
That was shocking.
That was shocking. Yeah. Like, the lighting was terrible. Like, you couldn't even see who was who by the end of the night. Like, those, like, boards around the side, and everyone just looked like a silhouette in front of them.
Yeah, now that you've reminded me of that, I think that's probably the worst ground this year. I mean, it was wet, cold, windy.
Yeah,
in the what's it called, like in the mountains or whatever, in the hills.
It was just in the middle of nowhere.
And then we caught the bus back, and I think the bus driver had to stop because he couldn't even see out the window. I thought, geez, we're not making it back.
It was depressing drive back.
So the best part about going to South Australia is leaving. So
Did you guys apparently, like, what was your like accommodation there? Because I heard it wasn't great. And I heard there wasn't Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we stayed at Westminster. It's like college kind of setup. I mean, and we were in dorms, so it wasn't the best setup. I mean, I shared with Big Creek, but it probably wasn't like the best compared to obviously staying at hotels, nice hotels that we do, but it wasn't too bad, but probably wasn't the best compared to the hotels.
What were the rooms like in that ground? Because that was a local footy ground that had just been renovated for Gather Round, the one in Adelaide.
Yeah.
What were the rooms like there?
Yeah, it was weird. It was like you go on. It wasn't too bad. It was just like a normal like concrete kind of setup underneath the stadium. It wasn't too bad, but yeah, I mean we weren't really in there that long, so I didn't have to deal with it. We were kind of just on and off the bus. But then we had the change rooms back over, like where they're training, like the soccer AstroTurf kind of setup was. So that wasn't too bad. And then we obviously got to warm up over there, but. Yeah, we didn't really spend too much time in there, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and you mentioned roaming with Craig for that one. Who from the Allies or National Academy would you least want to room with?
The worst person to room with is Jake.
Yeah.
He's horrible. He's always on his phone texting his missus, FaceTiming his missus. So, yeah, and then he'll be on his phone on TikTok and have it, like, full blast at, like, 12 o'clock.
That's terrible. Like, full brightness as well?
Yeah. It's like a whole disco going off when you're trying to sleep, and it's like... We're playing the next day and he's up at like 1 o'clock in the morning still. So like, just go to bed, mate.
Yeah, I know National Combine, I think Ari Showmaker was dishing out haircuts. Was there anyone that was dishing them out at the champs or was it just the Combine you saw that?
Just the Combine. Ari gave Creek one at the Combine. He actually did a very good job. Thought he was probably going to cut his ear off, but he did a very good job actually.
Yeah, wow. Now you had obviously those little injuries towards the back end of the season. Obviously, you would have been a bit flat, but as one of the players who are a bit more assured of, their place in this draft, how were you sort of feeling when that happened? Was it sort of just you were happy to call that a season there, or were you sort of fighting to try and come back?
Well, we kind of looked at it in the long run with the medical team at the academy. If it was worth it, I mean, I probably could have pushed it through and then played the rest of the year. But then in the off season, like now, I probably would have been trying to settle it, and it could have got a lot worse. And then trying to settle it, and then kind of my preseason kind of going down like that, trying to like lower my loads and everything. Whereas now But I've stopped, then I can kind of build into next year, which is definitely, I mean, it was only, a couple of games that I missed. So it wasn't the end of the world. I think in the long run, it was definitely the smart decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you were saying, it's not a sure thing. Crazy things have happened. I think everyone else other than you was saying it's a sure thing you're going to the Suns. So let's just, you say what you like, but we'll operate under the pretext that you are going to the Suns. How does it feel to sort of know where you're going in a way? You sort of know your place in the draft way more than anyone else would. And to know the situation ahead of time, like you can mentally prepare for this club that's, underperformed in its history, but has a good young core, new coach who's got, a great history. How does it feel to be going into that system?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've spent some time there, which has been luckily enough to do. I mean, go through their facilities and train in their facilities as well. So it's been good, and obviously done a bit of stuff with the AFL, so got some good relationships with the players already, which makes it easy, I think. Kind of just head into it knowing that you kind of feel like a second year player coming in, and so that everything's so new. You don't have to move away from home. Yeah, like you know everyone, you know the coaches, you know their game plan. It's pretty similar to the Suns Academy. So so our Suns Academy coach actually like works in the AFL in the game plan, stuff like that. He's the midfield, helps the midfield out in the VFL, which is similar to the AFL. So it would definitely be a lot easier and a much smoother transition than it would be from like going to another club and having to move out of home and worrying about all that outside stuff. Yeah,
now I'm pretty sure I've asked you before and you've said Charlie Curno's your favourite player. So a bit stiff obviously on the Suns key forwards. Levi Casbolt, Benny King. But is there anyone when you do get to the Suns you're really looking forward to working with?
Kingy and probably Luco as well, and Casbolt. I could probably name them all. I mean, looking forward to working with all of them. I mean, watch how they go about it. Try to pick things, what they do that helps them during games. And I think they can give me some like feedback and stuff as well. I mean, they went through this a couple of years ago, so they can kind of relate, which should be good,
And you and Creek met Charlie last month, was it? What was that interaction like? Had you met him before? Did he know who you were? And were you fangirling?
At the start, it was more like fangirling.
Yeah.
But he's actually one of my good mates' cousins, so that's why he was there. So after that, he knew who me and Ethan were a bit in the draft or whatever. But we're fangirling at the start, and then we had some good banter towards the end of it. Yeah.
So you guys are boys now?
Yeah, we're best mates.
Do you follow each other on Instagram?
No, he doesn't follow me, so a bit stiff.
That is actually stiff.
It's all right. Hopefully one day.
Fingers crossed when you steal that Coleman off him. Now, obviously you've got a week and a half until the draft. What are you looking to do? I guess you can't really think about it. You're down here in Dunsborough. You're just sort of kicking back. Do you have anything planned?
Yeah, just chill out with the family. I mean, the weather's unreal here, obviously. Just go to the beach. Might go down south a little bit as well, just explore. I'm not really sure. I think Clay might be coming down here, so might see him for a little bit. Just chill out. It's so much easier. I mean, the days go so much quicker here than sitting over in Queensland just thinking about the draft. I mean, it's been really good. Like, I've been here already like a week, and it feels like I've only been here like 2 days. So I mean, so I should come around pretty quick, and not really thinking about the draft too much lately, just enjoying it while I'm here.
Have you been doing any prep like for the preseason, or are you sort of just kicking back, season's done, you've come back from injury and you just want to relax until the draft, or is there like making sure you're ready for being on a list?
So I am. I've got a week membership to the Dunsborough gym just around the corner, and then I've been doing my running stuff as well. So still got to do my off-season program and come back roaring for pre-season, whichever club I go to. So
whichever club you there's 18 clubs and you can end up at any of them. Now, what's your big goal for the pre-season? Do you have anything in mind? Or?
Well, just get in and the respect of your teammates. I mean, everyone says that, but just really push and do the best you can, obviously, and then try to catch the coach's attention, and hopefully he likes you and puts you in the team early, or gives you a game next year.
Yeah, and coming into this year and heading into this draft and off season, you've been very humble and how you go about it, but you're a very highly rated player. You're the best key forward in this draft. You are considered the second best, arguably the best player in this draft. Do you feel any pressure to, like, when you go out there week in, week out, or heading into preseason, do you feel any pressure to live up to this mantle? Yeah,
there's a little bit of pressure, obviously. Nowhere near the same amount of pressure as what Harley's got. So I think he's kind of taken all of that for me. So shout out to Harley. But yeah, not too much pressure. And obviously, I'm on the Goldie, so I'm not in the heart of Melbourne or anything. So don't really cop the media or anything as much. So yeah, just go about it my own way. And then I got a good group of boys that that are going through the same thing as me. So I think we all can relate to the same stuff.
Yeah, and one final one. I asked Finchy, Byron Finch.
Yeah.
Just asked him if he had anything to ask you. I usually don't ask, for other people's questions than this. He just wanted me to ask you about bird watching.
Bird watching.
And apparently you're into bird watching.
Yeah, don't mind bird watching. Me and Creek usually go up to Mount Tambourine and look out into the sunset and watch. We count. There's this type of bird over there, and we just count how many times this bird flies past. So
yeah.
No, I'm just chatting crap. No, I'm not really into bird watching. I think I just said it on something as a piss take, but yeah.
You genuinely had to, because I thought Finchy was winding me up there for a second, and I was like, I don't know if I should ask this question.
Yeah, nah, not really into bird watching. I mean, there's a wildlife sanctuary near us, so might get down to that now that you've reminded me. But
have a look. Oh, well, plenty of time after this.
Yeah, exactly right.
Jed, thank you for coming on, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. And, best of luck for whichever club you may end up at.
Yeah, awesome. No worries. Thanks for having me.